What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tottenham Talk. We are back from our summer hiatus, and we are coming at you with a lot of new, great content. Today we're going to do our weekly roundup, which comes out every Monday. So be ready for that. And today, Matt, what are we going to talk about?
Oh, what everyone's wanting us to talk about: Harry Kane transfer, and of course the City game. I think
Those two topics, right? What a great win, and then this saga of a transfer that has been going on all summer. So let's kick it off with I want to say positive at the end. So let's save the City for the end, and we'll talk about Harry Kane right now. Okay, sound good?
All right, let's do it.
So Harry Kane, one of our own, a player who's done so much for us, kind of been with us through this renaissance of Tottenham coming to be a top 6 team, a top 4 team, almost winning the league, been inches away from glory so many times. You've got 2 Carabao Cups, 1 Champions League, second in the league twice. So he hasn't had the easiest road, but there's a lot to talk about here because, so as far as the media knew it, I'll kind of give some history here. As far as the media knew it, the Monday he was supposed to be back in training, which I think was 2 weeks ago now. He didn't show up. Supposed to have a meeting with Nuno, didn't show up. Throughout the week. No one knew what was going on, right? And media, Twitter, everything's going crazy, right? And you want to try and stay a little bit, I don't know, wait, because you don't want to just be fed into what the media is telling you, right? But if the case was, well, originally, and then so backtrack. Then on Friday, Kane put out a message saying, I was always supposed to show up on Friday. I was on my holiday. I had to isolate for COVID protocol, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff, kind of saying, hey, look, I'm not in the wrong here. This is just a big misunderstanding. So my question for you, Matt, is if it's such a big misunderstanding, and Nuno was asked this in the press conference before City, and he kind of didn't have an answer. If it was just all a big misunderstanding and the club expected him there on that Friday and he was expected to be there that Friday, why did the club or Tottenham or the club or Harry not hop on that right away and kind of say, hey, guys, this has all been a big misunderstanding, Monday or Tuesday when all the drama kind of unfolded?
It's interesting because you want fans fans want answers, and sitting in a couple of days not hearing anything, we all have our own speculation, and I think that's another thing that they were kind of anticipating for. Hey, the media is going to do its thing. Just let the media do its thing, and we'll give a statement out in the next couple of days or next week on what really happened, because these are his own words. Now, it's not necessarily their job to tell us immediately what's going on. But I think it was more of a media strategy from the agent of Kane to Kane and also the club. Listen, I don't think actually Kane or the club really had much contact over this in terms of,
I agree, yeah.
I think it was more of just an individual statement he made. Because he obviously, he spent his last decade at Spurs, and he doesn't want people to think that he's just trying to run off because he wants to leave. But it's a difficult situation he's in, I think. But I think it was more of just a media strategy, letting everyone kind of do what they want on Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, but so my thing is, he was in that week, he did some serious damage to his legacy at Spurs as a Spurs player, and whether or not you agree with the way that fans were treating him, he did damage, and you could see it. And that's not an unknown strategy, especially here in the States with NFL and stuff, just to boycott practice, boycott training, say, hey, Aaron Rodgers did it this year, right? Not show up and say, look, I want to leave, I told you I want to leave, blah 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 blah. I know I have a contract, but here's the deal. So
I don't think that's a professional way of kind of
I'd agree. I totally agree. And honestly, I don't think that's a way that Harry Kane would typically go about it.
I agree
with the way that we know who he is, the person, the professional he is. But that it seems to be the way he went about it. So what do you think, Matt? What are your thoughts? Do you think it was a misunderstanding, like Kane's message said, or do you think that was something that his staff kind of typed up for him and said, tweet this, you're gonna have to?
That's a tough. I want to lean towards your second option there. I think
really,
he's trying to push as much as he can to leave. Because there's always 2 sides of the story. I look at the side of Kane being like, listen, I want to leave, I want to win trophies, and I can't do it with this club, unfortunately. We've been too many positions where I'm not in positions to win. I mean, yes, Carabao last year, but like
No, I know.
ever since ever since like we kept getting consistent second with Poch and then kind of just started falling off from there. And then, having too many, replacement coaches. Well, I guess we only had Jose, not Nuno, on after Poch, right?
You could count Ryan
Yeah.
Mason too, but I mean, yeah,
Ryan Mason was, interim coach, but like, I want to think, oh no, he's being genuine here. Maybe he was supposed to be back on, he's actually on vacation, but part of me thinks that he is trying to push a move to City, and to do that is to maybe not show up for practice and kind of boycott or not. Boycott your contract in a way. I know he got heavily fined for it, which I'm sure he knew prior to doing that. So I'm curious to know what really was, his side to it, which we'll never know. We'll never know. It's just going to come down to what you think. But I think he's really trying to push a move for City. And I do believe that with his caliber, even as a player, and the achievements he's made in the past, he kind of grows a reputation to where he can kind of do that and get away with it, I think.
yeah.
So many people respect him for what he has done and how loyal he has been to this club. That I think in his eyes, listen, I'm Harry Kane, and I think I'm able to do what I'm about to do here. And that was, not show up to practice and kind of push a transfer to, and it's so different. Like, when you give the side of like a Grealish to City, it's so different because of
he plays for Aston Villa, right? Not Tottenham.
He's Aston. Well, yeah, I get that, but
he's also a lot younger.
He's in a position that's, Aston Villa is like, listen, we're gonna let this guy go. We know we're gonna let him go. He's better than everyone here. He's gonna get an offer somewhere. Blah 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 blah. With Kane's situation, I think Daniel Levy's kind of going into very very center-minded, and like, listen, no one's touching him. No one's gonna touch him. We're keeping him. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. And I think part of it almost got him carried away between Daniel Levy and Kane's relationship, because yes, it's business. But yes, they want to win. And at the same time, you got to have to see the perspective of players. And unfortunate that Kane did sign like a 7-year contract. That's not probably what you should do.
Yeah.
So I get where Daniel's coming from in terms of, listen, you're not going anywhere unless I get the right price for you. Sucks for Kane, but that's how it works.
But the thing is, Matt, is like, if you look back at the All or Nothing documentary, and you remember when Eriksson left the club, and it was kind of it didn't kind of go as planned. It wasn't a smooth exit like Vertonghen and Worm got at the end of that season. And there's a clip of Kane talking about how the transfer market works. He's like, yeah, you can't just leave if you want to leave. You still have to get the right price. You have to make sure the team wants you, and it's not as easy as I want to leave and go here. So we understand it has to be what it is, and that's literally.
Well, I think that is all set in stone between City and Tottenham right now in terms of, I want to leave. They want me. I got my personal contract ready to go. I've got all this ready to go. You guys just need to agree on a fee. And I think it's more between of, hey, they gave 100 million plus a player, and Daniel's like, well, I don't want that. I want 150 million cash from you in order for you to let you go. And I think what he's trying to do is kind of push and kind of be like, fine, Daniel, if you're not going to let me go, then I won't practice.
Yeah, which is, to me, so here's my thing, right? On the whole Kane saga. Obviously, Kane's been an incredible player. You gotta love watching him, especially, like we have grown up liking Spurs like this, especially, in our youth playing the game and you as a striker. But that's not the way to go about it, in my opinion. The way you treat this club, it's disrespectful to the club. It's disrespectful to Nuno. It's disrespectful to the players, because now this new project and new preseason that Nuno and his team is trying to build is of full positivity has now been shadowed by what Kane is doing, right? All this drama and chaos by Kane that he's causing by simply not showing up to practice is now kind of tarnishing everything that Tottenham is trying to do. If you don't, my look is this, Kane has put in a shift with this club, like you said, a decade of his life, decade of his career. If he really doesn't think he can win here anymore and he wants to go somewhere else just to say that he's won a trophy, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm going to be sad, but I'm fine with that, you know? And I think Levy's fine with that. He just said, I have to have the right price.
Yeah.
But if you're talking, it's one thing if Kane's going to Liverpool or Chelsea, not Chelsea, Liverpool or, maybe one of those top teams that doesn't have unlimited funds like City. But when he's going to a team like City who can literally pay as much as they want per player and not be upset, not their pocket's not going to be any emptier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's unacceptable for him to try and I think push this way at Tottenham and cause all this chaos at Tottenham while City's over there sitting and then they go and spend another 100 mil on Grealish. In the meantime, Chelsea spent 130 mil on Lukaku or 120 mil on Lukaku. And now, to me, that price tag of Kane could be even higher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't blame Levy for saying, or in my opinion, I don't think you can blame Levy for saying, look, Harry, I'm happy to let you leave and all this stuff, but I'm not happy to let you leave. I want you to stay, but I'll let you leave if we can get the right price. And I'll tell you that, you signed this
It's
contract.
business strategy too. I'm sure probably too. Like Daniel was like, let's see where these guys go for, because you obviously have much better caliber than some of these players. And if they're going for this much, it's also due to contract situation. If they have a year left, it might be a little different. But Kane has 5 years left.
Well, 2024.
4 years left, 3 years left.
Yeah.
He's still got a chunk of time left on the contract.
That's a chunk,
so they're paying full price for this guy, whether they like it or not. If they want,
and as they should, he's in the prime of his career right now. He just came off his best season ever, personally. And so my thing is, as opposed to Kane and his team, whatever they decided in terms of skipping practice, boycotting practice in a way, and kind of trying to force Levy's hand as opposed to City's hand, is not the way to go about it. If you're Harry's agent, you got to go to City and be like, look, this is the best striker in the world. You know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be going for him, right? You wouldn't be trying this hard to get this caliber player. If, one, you didn't need it, and two, you didn't want it that badly. So you're gonna have to raise your price because look, Harry Kane loves Tottenham. He's given his career there. Tottenham has given a lot to Harry Kane. You can't forget that. We did not only have him as a player, but we gave him the chance. We stuck with him through numerous loan spells. We pull him into our academy when Arsenal's academy dropped him, stuff like that. Where you've got to remember, Tottenham has given a lot to Harry Kane as well. And if I'm Kane and his agent, which is actually his brother, you've got to pressure City a bit more, right? And maybe they are behind the scenes, but they kind of went around about going about it a way that really disappoints me, and it hurts me. Like, we're positive people, right? Especially when it comes to Spurs. But I tell you what, when I think about Harry Kane right now playing for Spurs, it kind of grinds my gears a little bit because I just don't. I almost feel like, he's betrayed us, and I know that's tough to say. He hasn't betrayed us by any means, but that's what it feels like as a fan. To wake up one day and see your star player, your Tottenham man, Mr. Tottenham, come out and do this and act like we're some tin pot club who he's the best player by far and there's no other quality players, and that's just not the case. We saw it this weekend with City. We have Son who is world class by any stretch of the imagination, and young players, promising young players. We've done decently in this transfer window, and I think we'll do better. I think we'll still get players. So it's tough, but I am super disappointed overall the way that Harry handled this. Especially with his professionalism in the past. So
it doesn't help the fact.
You have any thoughts on that?
I was gonna say it doesn't help the fact that we play City the first game.
Yeah. So now you get the Saga right.
Yeah.
They City this first game, and we just beat them, right? We just beat them not just on a lucky goal, and they were pounding us the whole time. I personally think we convincingly beat them.
I think we convinced them.
We played really well.
Nice too. We kept attacking after we scored. And that's new for us.
Well, so don't get into that yet. Don't get into that yet. We'll analyze the game in a sec. But my point is we totally showed what City's weakness is. And you know what that is? A striker like Harry Kane, someone who can finish in the final third. And if anything, his price tag just went up after that because Spurs said, oh, look, we can actually do this. It's like, hey, City, looks like you really need a striker. Maybe it's time to hike up the price a little bit. You know what I mean? So I don't know. This saga has been so so many highs and lows, and I'm tired of it getting in the way of this positive stuff that Nuno's trying to do at Spurs, And it's like every interview I watch, it's no matter if it's a player interview or Nuno's interview, it always is, well, there's been a lot of talk about Harry Kane, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, man, we got to get this decision hammered down and fast. Because if he's staying this season, I think it's going to take a while for fans to get back to backing. What do you think?
Well, I don't want him to be that one person that's going to mess up the fluidity of the team.
Totally agree. I totally agree.
He was out there. I mean, and even with people would agree, even with when we Champions League final, that him starting, him playing kind of messed up our kind of fluidity as well. And you see our Bergwijn, Dele, Son, and
Lucas
all killing in the attack against City, and Kane's not even there. And they just, these guys, it just felt natural to them. It wasn't even a job. It was more of just they were having their fun.
They were playing for the badge,
and they were playing for the badge. Yeah, and it just made me so convinced on what Nuno's doing and what we can do this season into next season and so on and so forth. I do think too, though, that we're adding to this episode that I'm about to say is Patricia has played a major impact.
Totally agree.
I think he deserves a bunch of credit. And same with Daniel. I think Daniel some the confidence and some credit too for saying, hey, listen, we need a director of football. I can't do the whole thing.
The reason I'll give Daniel credit is because he's been kind of trying. I think he has been a puppet with Steve Hitchen in the past. Steve Hitchen was technically our director of football or the equivalent of that, but Levy seemed like he was making all the choices. We never heard about Steve Hitchen has found this. Maybe every once in a while, but I think it takes a lot for Levy to step back and say, hey, you know what? We need a director of football because frankly, I'm not doing it. And we all knew, the Levy out, all that, Enoch out. I think it's to be continued to see what this season and the rest of the transfer window holds, because I think we're not at a successful transfer window yet, in my opinion. I think there's still some gaps we need to fill, and more so securing some depth, because hey, Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez played a hell of a game, but
they did.
But that we know that has not been their consistency this past year, right? So
correct.
that is not necessarily, they played one good game, we don't need a center back anymore. We can just throw Romero into one of them and hope it works. That worries me personally.
I agree. But you're right. I don't think our transfer window is closed yet. I think we'll sign maybe potentially 2-3 more guys. I think 2 for sure.
Yeah.
I just got a notification actually. I wanted to say.
Yeah.
This kind of goes off topic with our episode, but it is a weekly episode. I just got a tweet from the Spurs web that said that we made a $90 million offer for Lautaro Martinez, and he got rejected.
Yeah. Well,
so that's very interesting to me, honestly.
Well, going into
that.
Totally agree. Going into our Paratici, the way he works with, I really have this summer discovered that I really love the way that he works the transfer window, as opposed to saying, hey, I want Matt.
So active.
Well, yes, but like as opposed to saying, hey, I want Matt Kuster, let's focus all our time and energy on that. It's, hey, I want Matt Kuster, I want Clay, I want Harry Kane, I want Son, I want all these guys, whoever it may be, and you kind of just work it all at once, right? You work
realistically, we're only getting about 1 or 2 of these guys, so
totally.
It makes sense. It's a great strategy in terms of purchasing players because you're in the race.
I also saw some news here. I can't remember where it was from. Might have been some sort of Italian reporter, but that Vlahovic and us we've agreed a fee with Fiorentina for Dusan Vlahovic, which
really
I think was a better buy than Martinez, because I worry if Martinez can handle it in the Prem. And this guy, he's Serbian. The way that I've seen him play, he just is an aggressive player, and that style of play you need in the Prem when you're going up against the Van Dijks of the world. So if that could follow through, well, also the fact that kind of bid and that we've been working like this kind of plays in more to Kane's story that he's probably out. He's probably out of here.
Yeah.
Which I think might be a good segue into the Man City game, because guess who wasn't even on the bench as an option? Harry Kane. When guess who else was? Brian Hill and Romero, who Nuno and the club have kind of been saying, well, Harry's got to get back in here and get his fitness. He's probably not going to be able to play. When Brian Hill arrived, I think the same day as Harry. So
somewhat close, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
There's definitely some unanswered questions we have, but
Totally.
There's some shady stuff going on. It seems like it just seems more. It just seems more and more falling in the lines of he's gonna leave the club. At least,
well, to me, it's almost like at this point we can't look into it. Like we can't get upset about all these news because he's gonna leave. And what do you expect Nuno to say when someone asks him about that? Yeah, Harry Kane's leaving. You know what I mean? You can't say that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I've loved the way Nuno's handled himself in these interviews because, man, he's so positive and he speaks. He is so good at speaking, and the way that he's able to kind of word his answers to these questions, even if they're tough questions, it comes out in such a positive light, And he knows what he wants from his team, from his players, and he knows what he can do. And it's just like, wow, it's something special. So I've been, and I mean, when we go back to our transfer managers or our manager episode back in the spring, Nuno was my pick. When we had
you were Nuno
on. So really excited, really, really excited for Nuno as well. So let's hop into this Man City game, Matt. Let's start with this. One word to describe how you felt after that game.
Joyful.
That's a good word. Explain it a little bit. What were your thoughts going through your head, when Son scored, when the 90-minute whistle blew? Talk to me.
You know what? There's so many things just kind of fell in the line in that game that just I loved. Just seeing Romero come on and seeing him play, it just was kind of cool. Being so invested in a team like this, and you're actually up to date and know players that they're picking up and signing, and then seeing that person wear your badge that you support it's awesome, I think. But I was really excited with the starting lineup because I've always been a Bergwijn fan, but it's been issues with him in the past with the finishing, and he still has that issue. But
Bergwijn can't get out of his own way.
Sorry, my mic's falling. But I will say, there we go. I will say, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, I will say that though, he did have a very good shift in terms of I love as an attacking player going at the defense at full speed, because when you get players that kind of lollygag with the ball right next to them, just do real quick tricks, blah 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 blah, I feel like it's pretty easy for the defender to just sweep that right up. When you go at someone and make them commit to something, then I think that's why Son scored. I mean, you see how fast Son does his moves and how fast he gets the ball off in front of Ake is why we scored. And that fast-paced play was so continuous. I mean, every time we tried countering, that was it. It was the same three guys booking up there: Lucas, Bergwijn, and Son. And then sometimes we had the midfield kind of do the same thing. They're killing it, but it's so hard when we go into like the man of the match and stuff because I'm not saying mine at all. But what I'm saying is you have such good offense to where you look in our defense, and Skip and Højbjerg were phenomenal. And so you think to yourself, my God, we have a squad. And then having a solid, confident defense, it looked like, in the game at least. I think the morale of the team has someone sparked it. And I don't know who sparked it.
Could be, I think Nuno.
Nuno could be the name for that. But you have being in Indiana, being born in Indiana, all that stuff, being a Colts fan, Colts draft character. And I think Tottenham is also somewhat into that too, in terms of who they not draft, but who they pick up, and it's character. I mean, you look at these guys who they sign, and you see all the tweets about Romero and how much he just wants to play for Spurs. But then you see that Koundé on Sevilla was like, well, I don't want to play for them because they're not Champions League. Well, we didn't go for him then after that, And it makes me think, okay, well, we want character. We want people who want to play for the club, obviously.
Yeah, it makes you think of like proud, like something.
And it just made me so joyful and happy to see that we had a squad out there today or yesterday that was wanting to be there for one, and number two, did not think they were going to be demolished by City, and said, we can beat these guys. Let's give them a fight, and we did that job. I mean, keeping a clean sheet and winning. I mean, you can't write it any better.
Yeah, So my thoughts going into it, originally I was a little worried with Sanchez and Dyer because, you never know what's going to happen. But I had a certain level of confidence, Tanganga's coming off a bright preseason. We still got Hugo in the back. Reggie's always promising. And then Oliver Skip. I love Skippy, I mean, he came off of an incredible season in the championship. He made the championship team of the season. You got Højbjerg, who had one of the best Euros performances of any player, in my opinion. And then you got, of course, an incredible front with Son, Deli.
Well, Højbjerg, because of the Danish squad was just so good.
So good. And that was almost an example of how you want to play, was that Danish squad. So
that's exactly. It's so crazy to see how far a team can go when their talent maybe is not there, but here it's there. And totally. I think that's why we showed so well against City, because City to me is more, hey, this is buy all the best players possible and put them together.
Yeah. Totally. But if you look up front, you got Dele Lucas, who's had an incredible preseason. I've been super excited to see him play, and he played really well. Son, who's obviously just another level. After signing that new contract, he's been so humble and so proud to be a part of this club. And it's like a player like that, kind of just, it makes Harry Kane look bad, if I'm being honest, because it's hard because, Kane's been here for 10 years. It's not like he left as early as Grealish did, but it's something else when you have a player like Son. It's special, and I feel very lucky to have him at the club. Then you got a player like Dele, who's been struggling these last couple of years, and I know last year I think we said it was probably going to be his last chance at Spurs, but he didn't get a chance. And
under the light of Nuno, it looks like someone else is in line for him, and I'm so excited because he does have that talent.
Totally.
Again, I'm not opposed to getting money for him, but I'm not mad that he's here at all. I mean, and there's just so much, Clay, I think, that just went right yesterday.
And it's almost like Dele's okay. He might have a new role. First of all, I was thinking about that yesterday. He might not be that trickster who's going to pull off the incredible goals like he did against Palace, like he did in that 16-17 season. Or was it 15-16? I think it was 16-17.
16-17.
And he might have a different role, and maybe that's a workhorse defensively, which Dele was yesterday. He was working his butt off, being aggressive, breaking up the play, getting into the players' heads because, the Grealishes of the midfield, just getting into it, digging in and making them have to think about you, it's like, oh crap, where is he, sort of thing. And and when you get doing the ball, just keeping it, and having the composure to find the next pass. And that is a huge part. And that's why I'm not comparing Conte and Dele together by any means. Dele's not a CDM by any means. But the reason Conte is so good is because he's like a fly, buzzing around every player. He picks up the ball and he keeps it. He gets the ball, he wins the ball, he breaks down the play. And maybe Dele's transitioning into a different role. It's more similar to that as opposed to just the flamboyant playmaker of
kind of how Poch did with Sissoko.
Definitely. But I think Dele has a much higher ceiling than Sissoko, obviously. But very similar, He's been reinvigorated, and I hate to keep saying that every year, but he didn't get the chance that we thought he was going to get last year under Jose.
Yeah.
And Jose really, I think, kind of just refused to use him for whatever reason and kind of just put him to the side. He claims like mentality, things like that. Maybe that was true. And I think Dele learned a lot about himself last season, which I've heard him say in interviews. So hopefully he can have a good season here. It looks like Nuno's doing great work with him, but like I said, everyone on the pitch yesterday just gave me this feeling of being incredible. It reminded me of the feeling, of the 16-17 season, of when I first started supporting Spurs.
It did.
Why do I love Spurs as opposed to another club? That was why, because everyone on the pitch and everyone on the bench was ready to play for the badge, from the last substitute that barely made the roster to the first guy that was picked of the starting lineup. You know what I mean? And it was just everyone was playing for Tottenham. And in numerous interviews, Tanganga had I cannot comprehend his performance yesterday, because not only did he have to deal with Raheem Sterling, who was probably one of the best players of the Euros, he also had to deal with Jack Grealish at the same time on the same side. I don't think either one of them made it past him, and that is something that those are two of the best wingers in the Premier League. The best. It doesn't get any better than Sterling and Grealish. It really doesn't. So if he can handle that, he can handle anything, first of all. And second of all, in his post-match interview, they're trying to the interviewer is trying to say, "Hey, you played really well," and he keeps going back to the team. He won't, he like refuses this. He refuses almost to acknowledge that he played that well, and he's like, you know what? It's not just about me; it's about the team. It's about how well we played. And he said that, and Eric Dyer said that, and Nuno said that, Sonny said that. It's something else that this team is thriving off of each other.
It almost seems like they're. It almost seems like they're really, what's the word? After watching the All or Nothing documentary, I feel like there's too many people in the locker room. There's just unhealthy relationships. There's people that are just stirring pots. I didn't think Jose was the best person to add to that situation.
But you look at I like to look at leaders a lot, right? Because when you play for a team, there's going to be a leader, right? And that leader is your manager. It's supposed to be, right? You got your captain on the team, but when it comes to the next level, you got your manager. And so Jose as a leader, to me, kind of sends out a message of individualism and kind of like competition in that way, which can't always be a bad thing. I mean, obviously Jose is one of the most successful managers of all time, but when it came to this point in Jose's career and at Spurs, I think he was kind of embracing Son and Kane, who are individually incredible, but it wasn't really about the team. I felt like, there wasn't an identity for the team. Meanwhile, you got a leader like Nuno, who says stuff in interviews like, "No player is bigger than this club. I don't need to spend any time convincing someone to want to join this club because this club is Tottenham Hotspur. You know what? This club is Tottenham Hotspur. This isn't some random club that you could walk on at any moment. This is an incredible club with great history and should be treated with respect." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when you have someone leading like that, it's very easy to buy in. You got to buy into whatever your manager's doing, otherwise it's not going to be successful. So when everyone was buying into Jose, it kind of seemed like forced and like no identity and kind of lost sort of thing. Like you said, there's some toxicity there. But with Nuno, I feel like he's a great leader. You know what I mean? He's got his head on his shoulders and what it means to play for a team. A great example is Tanguy Ndombele right now, who didn't make the roster again. And that's now the fourth manager who hasn't really chosen him as their number one, like he's supposed to be. And, I love Tanguy. Don't get me wrong. I love Tanguy. But there's something to be said about
why he isn't playing.
Sacrificing maybe the better technical player by a mile for someone who's playing for the badge, playing for the team, buying into what you have to say, and ready to go, So that alone shows me that you got to be able to make tough choices when you're a leader, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Whether you're the captain or whether you're the coach or whether you're a boss at a normal company. So Nuno's ready to make that. That's not an easy choice to bench, not even bench, not include our biggest ever signing. Leave him at home. So, man, I tell you what, if I had one word to describe how I felt after the game, and I still feel when I'm talking about it, there's a couple of City fans that I've recently moved in next to, and I've been enjoying heckling them a little bit because it's just buzzing is the great word for it. Proud is another good word. So, man, what a game!
It just proved a lot of the haters wrong.
Totally.
Because so many people have so much, not hate, but just look, I feel like, at Tottenham as like, oh, they're nothing anymore. They used to be this, blah blah. But I feel like we're actually really setting a name for ourselves in the next coming years. And I think that game against City just showed it.
Oh yeah,
especially with who played. I think it says a lot, and I think people should respect it. But I think we should get into player of the match.
Yeah, let's talk a little more like that, and then we can wrap up this episode. This weekly roundup. All right, player. All right, let's start with play of the game. Oh, I know mine. I got mine. Can I go first? All right. At the very end, 93rd, 92nd minute, I can't remember who it was. Someone was up high, maybe Delhi. They kind of lost the ball in City's defensive third. And I think it was Grealish who started running with the ball forward. And he beat Delhi, tried to win it back. He missed. He beat Delhi. He beat someone else. And then Sanchez comes in with this slide tackle that just sealed the deal, you know?
Game,
Like
man.
that was like incredible. And it was just like, I remember me and you were sitting there on the couch. We're like, go, go. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And Sanchez comes in with that slide and it just gave you, we celebrated that slide tackle and that fight, like, you know,
He
scoring
scored.
like Son's goal. And to me, that's got to be the play of the game. I mean, this just shows heart to the very end.
Play the game. Well, I guess if you chose that was a good one. I mean, you can't go wrong with Son's goal, but
Yeah, go
his
ahead. I
move.
mean,
I don't. Well, I mean, that's a common one. I'm trying to think of something. There's some small things out there that Skipper did that I thought made a big impact. He had a couple great tackles in the box.
totally.
Slide tackles in the box. You know, very risky ones. At the same time, though, they paid off. I'm sorry if you heard that. I got an email. I probably have to go with Skip.
Yeah.
Skip had. It was tough because there's one particular scenario where I forget who it was. I want to say it was either João Cancelo, I think, got in, and someone got in, and Skip was right there, followed him, blocked it, went for a corner. It was just like early in the game, and you and I looked at each other like, "Let's go, Skip!"
Yeah, I remember.
It was just like 2 minutes, 4 or 5. I don't forget. It was 10 minutes in the game, maybe or less. And you know, we made a comment like, you see how he went into that tackle? He's not afraid, you know. You remember saying that, talking about that?
Yeah, no. I was super impressed with Skip because, you know, you come from the championship. Yes, you won the championship, but you still expect to be one of the worst teams in the Premier League when you go up, right? And it's another level, and Skip knows that. But he didn't shy away from the challenge. He didn't kind of back up and say, all right, let's just make sure I don't lose the ball. He went 2 feet in and not like a tackle, but he, you know, went all in with his courage and the way that he played, the confidence. He wasn't afraid to get into any City players and be aggressive. Being aggressive like that in the midfield is so important because it's impossible. It makes it impossible for City to play that, right? It makes it impossible for them to kind of play around that. So I was really impressed with Skip as well. That's a great one. All right, man of the match.
So
I'm going with Tanganga.
go for it.
I don't know. It's just they're both great shouts. I honestly think you could pick probably anyone in
You
this
can pick anyone.
for
I was
this.
about to say, you know what? Well, maybe not, because I was going to say Lucas was just as good. I mean, despite the fact that someone did score and had a great goal, which probably said it to me why I think he was probably in the match. But
Lucas had a hell of a game.
Lucas was just up and down the pitch, and like, how many mistakes could you look at that he made?
Not many.
It was very little. Very, like, I'm talking like 2, 3, 4.
It's little things like, you know, when I think we fouled City and Lucas was holding the ball and keeping it away from Ruben Diaz, and just little things like that. It's like trying to shake up the game a little bit, get in their head, and it's something else. So that's a good shout as well. But all right, it's the favorite part, hidden gem.
Tanganga.
That's good hidden. That's good. That's good.
He will be I think under Jose, he set himself as like a name, signed his first professional contract with us. And I think under Nuno, he will be our starting outside back, if not center back. But I don't think he's going to play center back.
I don't think so either.
I think there's a reason why he started against City, and I think there's a reason Skip started against City. I think we're seeing a lot of interaction with our youth squads too.
Yeah.
I think we're really utilizing our youth because we haven't really been. When's the last time you saw like a young guy really show like at their debut?
I really think Harry Winks was like the last
right. So like
product.
you look at Arsenal. They have Saka. They got Emile Smith Rowe's a new guy now.
I don't know if we should be modeling ourselves off of Arsenal, who just lost to Brentford, but no, I can't.
Well, I'm saying
I know what you mean.
They just lost. Screw Arsenal. No one likes Arsenal. Screw Arsenal. But and I can say that because we're Tottenham fans. But you don't really see much of the use of their youth squad. And I've known and we've heard that Tottenham has one of the better youth squads out there.
Totally.
So I'm curious to know if this summer if Patricia or someone was like, hey, we should utilize these players, see what they can do. Worst case is they're not going to be ready yet for, the senior team. That's okay. They're youth guys. We're going to grow them into that. And so I think a lot of I think Josie kind of set a good example with who they brought up in terms of Parrott, him, and then I forget who else they brought up. One more guy, but Skip was their guy. So I think it sets a standard for sure. But I'm pretty confident that we'll start seeing Tanganga regularly at that position. Because
I hope so.
right. Why put Serge there when we're risking PKs?
Never. In all honesty, I think the Petsotsky academy player who's been playing in preseason, I would put him before Serge, but that's another story for another day. My hidden gem is probably going to be the team, just the team fight, the team camaraderie, the feeling of playing for this badge, because this is bigger. Graham Roberts said it, the badge on the front is bigger than any name on the back, no matter what, no matter if you're Messi or what. So that is huge. And I think, there's nothing that showed it more than our all-out performance yesterday. So another hidden gem could be that Diron Sanchez could be turning a new leaf in terms of finally adapting and fitting in with not only the team, but with confidence. They're both very confident. They need confidence, right? They're confidence players. If they've got it, maybe they can show out, and this can be a heck of a year. So what an episode, Matt, because we beat City on the first match of the day. We beat the champions, and guess who lost? Arsenal lost to Brentford. So heck, couldn't ask for a better way to start.
Third place team to get promoted.
So, all right, guys. Like we said, this is going to be our end of our first weekly roundup of the new season, and this is going to come out every Monday. So a little something to lighten up those days, the Monday blues. So thank you again for listening. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of that, wherever you're listening to this, any podcast. So thank you for listening. And as always, come on, you Spurs.